Recent polls show the U.S. Senate race between Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks and former Governor Larry Hogan at everything from a tie to an 11-point race. And in a state that typically votes Democratic, some election prognosticators are now shifting this contest from a solid win for Democrats to a likely win for Democrats. This morning, Candy Woodall, an opinion editor with our partners at the Baltimore Sun, is joining us live to weigh in on how this race in a liberal bent state remains so close. Candy, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's talk about the main factors here. Is this different than what we have seen in other races in Maryland?
It's very different. Maryland is used to seeing a Democrat win by 30 or more points, and nobody's predicting that this year. And you don't just need polls to tell you that. You can talk to voters. The mood of the voters is making it clear that people are frustrated with the status quo.
Do you think that this is a Hogan factor or is this a Republican factor?
I think that people really like both of these candidates, and I think Hogan is tested in Maryland. He has run and won two major races in a liberal and a blue state, and people like him. He left office with a 77% approval rating, and there really hasn't been anything to change that since he left office. And there are people looking for a change. There are also people who think we need more working across the aisle in federal government. They're frustrated with Congress. They think Congress gets nothing done. Yeah. They want more accountability. And then, of course, affordability is the #1 issue this year. And they blame Democrats for that.
That's an interesting part as we head into this. Again, we mentioned some of the polls showing them tied, but the majority of them showing Alsobrooks with a lead here. That doesn't mean it's over. We have seen Hogan really being a closer in campaigns. It's what happened when he became governor here in Maryland. Do you think that'll happen again, though, this time, or does Alsobrooks have a strong enough lead?
I think we have to wait and see a little bit because there are a few weeks left in this election, a little more than 2, and that's a lot of time. There's still more to come out. And I think a big factor here for Alsobrooks is she's running as a Democrat. That's a benefit to her in a left-leaning state with the Democratic registration advantage for voters. But voters are also frustrated with the Democratic Party because of how their family finances are being affected. And even though Joe Biden is not on the ballot this time, he's still very much part of this race. And I think that some voters might hold Democrats accountable for things like inflation, the cost of their grocery bills. I get so many letters at the Baltimore Sun with people just sharing their grocery receipts.
And Candy, I'm assuming you think that might, even translate into the presidential race as well when you talk about those frustrations.
I do. I think that, of course, Kamala Harris is still on track to win Maryland.
Right.
But if you look in these battleground states, and I spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania, if you look at these battleground states, they really are tight. They're close. And a lot of it comes down again to the economy. And if you look at Trump and Harris and Hogan and Alsobrooks, something they all have in common right now is they've really pivoted their campaign messaging to talk more about the economy. So they know it's a big deal.
Which is what matters to the voter who's heading out to the polls. Candy, thank you for your insight. This was really helpful. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.